All right. I think we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for waiting. There is gonna be a press conference coming up. Okay, that's the first thing we got to start with this CyberTruck thing. It's coming in about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna need the live feed. But in the meantime, we have a bunch of different things to cover, updates to cover with the terrorist guy and the CyberTruck dude, and a couple of other weird, wonky stories. So let me just put this out though. Presser for Cybertruck. It's a weird situation, and some people think there's similarities to it. But before we get into the main topics, I'm going to kind of touch on some of these other smaller stories. Give time people to join, and if you missed the chase this morning, check it out. It was pretty fun, entertaining. Nobody got hurt, but interesting. So anyway, with this story, this TikToker, Chris Olsen, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but now he's telling his story. I think this is the guy that was attacked in the subway, New York City. Okay, back to New York, where the governor says it's safe in the subways. A knife was pulled out on him. The knife pulled out and allegedly stabbed someone. Escaped death narrowly after a lunatic pulls out a knife and stabs somebody. This guy has 13 million followers and says the incident started with two men. When two men started shouting at each other, we just basically witnessed a stabbing and almost died on the subway ourselves. Let's check it out real quick.
We just basically witnessed a stabbing and almost died on the subway ourselves. I get on the subway all the time. Kara doesn't.
No, I don't live here.
So people yell at each other on the subway often. So when they started yelling, Kara got a little nervous, but I was like, it's going to be okay. This just kind of happens. Kara then tells me apparently one of them pulls out a really big knife and they keep yelling at each other, but I didn't see the part about the knife. So we were just sat there. Most people have their headphones in, so they aren't really listening to what's going on, but Kara and I are listening to the whole thing. Meanwhile, I'm like making jokes because I don't think it's that serious somehow. And then the guy behind us starts rushing towards the guy in front of us, and every single person on the train gets up and starts running right at Kara and I because we're near the end of the car. Now I'm at the front where the door to change cars while the subway is moving is, and it keeps getting jammed, but I somehow use adrenaline and my untapped superhero strength to rip it open. We jump over to the next car, I rip that one open, and then everyone in that car obviously starts yelling because everyone behind us is screaming and pushing us all forward. And then we get pushed all the way to the front of that next car, but the door in front of that is completely locked. But all we can hear behind us is people are screaming. We don't know if someone has brought out a gun. We don't know who else has been stabbed. So we just hear screaming in the background, and we keep getting pushed harder and harder against a wall with no door to open. And then someone pulls the emergency brake and the subway just completely stops. One of the guys in front of us is yelling back at everyone to try to calm down and stop.
And I wouldn't take the subway if I was in New York. If I was in New York, if I had to go there, I was raised over there. And I've never been back since I left. Like, I think it was 2001 after 9/11. Never went back since. But if I ever have to go back, I'm going to try to take some type of cab or whatever.
Screaming because it's just
I'm not taking the subway.
Everyone. Meanwhile, we still don't know what's happening behind us. We don't know the reason for their screams. And then finally, after it must have been like 5 minutes, but it felt like 30, the conductor of the subway car walks through with a key and opens up the next door, and we all make it into the next car. And I guess they lock the door behind because then we can just sit down and we wait like 20 minutes for the subway to eventually move to the next spot. Somehow remained calm most of the time. We just kept saying, oh my God. As soon as we get out of the car, both start crying. The subway, please stay safe. Just please stay safe.
It's crazy, man. You got to go. I don't know if you can go strapped over there. I don't know what the laws are. Subway is crazy over there. It's insane. And by the way, if you haven't heard, there was this whole bombing situation yesterday in South Carolina. Bomb threat, and this is the guy's name. Ahmed Jamal Khamis Alahindi, blah, 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 alala, is charged with the breach of peace of high and aggravated nature, conveying false information about a bomb threat, and no vehicle license. According to his booking information, there is an arrest warrant for pendency of ongoing removal proceedings issued by ICE. His bond was set at $20,000, $238. This was the whole craziness yesterday with that.
Of breach of peace, high and aggravated nature, and
Frozen
conveying
chicken,
false
yeah.
information about a bomb threat. This court always follows the guidelines of the state statutes that are attached to the said charges. So for both of those charges, you will have a cash and surety bond of $10,000 apiece on both of those. You're also being charged with no vehicle license. Cash and surety bond is set at $238 on that particular charge. So altogether, you do have a total cash and surety bond that you will have to post, totaling in the dollar amount of $20,238. So what that means is that you have 3 options of posting that bond. The first option is the cash to this court and the dollar amount of $20,238. Second option is to get a bail bondsman. He or she will charge you anywhere between 10 to 15% fee of the $20,238. Third option, it cannot be yourself. It has to be a family member or a friend owning land or a home, valued at $20,238 with an aid of an attorney. That attorney can post that property bond.
Okay. So those little updates on those side stories. Another situation to what I want to talk about just for a minute. This dude, bro, it's like all these terrorist people have just awoken. It's like they got a second wind or something, and they're all excited, and they're all carrying out plots or whatever. Everybody's bombing something. Now, this guy, a man has been arrested after he planted an IED on a train in Piety, Idaho. However you say that. 40-year-old Brent Shari was arrested and charged with possession of a destructive device after he was caught attempting to light the IED. The Nampa bomb squad was called in and successfully detonated the device using a robot. Bro, what the? What? I thought I had a little video to go with this too. Brent Shari. Let me see if I pull something up. Oh, they're all excited. They all had like a second win. They're all trying to. Oh, here's a little video. Let me play this here real quick. What the?
Another developing story that we are following. This one is actually coming in out of Idaho. I want to tell you what police are providing at this point. Now, they do say that a man has been arrested after investigators say he actually placed an improvised explosive device on a train car. Take a look. That is his mugshot that has been released by investigators. This
was this guy? Is he high? What is this?
Oh. Over in Payette. Police say on New Year's Day, around 6 p.m. local time, Payette police were called to the 600 block of North 8th Street for a suspicious man seen near a parked railroad car attempting to light something on fire. Officers got there and say they found fresh footprints in the snow and were able to track them to a train car where they found an undetonated improvised explosive device, or IED.
Yeah, when I typed this guy's name in on YouTube, a YouTube channel came up. Somebody with the same name. He kind of looks like him. I don't know if this is him. They look very similar. Is this the same dude? Brett Shari. Ripping my cord in half. I'll try. I have a video, Glenn, I want to show.
Almost.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if this is the same dude. It looks very similar to the guy we're looking at here, and same name. But I'm not confirmed. I guess I don't know what you guys think in the chat. And he has a thing here. Let me see. Hurry up.
Police say they followed the footprints in the snow to a camp trailer that was parked near a home.
Seems like MK Ultra ESQ sleeper cells being turned on. None of this makes sense.
I don't know what's going on. So yeah, it's like they're all activated now. What's going on? Somebody flipped a switch or something. What's going on? Thank you, Anna, for the fun.
Fairly close by, officers say 40-year-old Brent Shirai, seen right there, tried to run from the camp trailer, but surrendered to police officers after a short chase. He was taken into custody, we're told, on unrelated warrants and later booked into the county jail on those warrants, but also additional charges for possession of a destructive device, which is a felony, possession of a controlled substance, also a felony, and possession of paraphernalia, which is a misdemeanor. There's also resisting and obstructing officers. Due to the dangers that were posed by the IED, the bomb squad was called to the scene to make sure the device was safe. Union Pacific also notified all trains scheduled to travel through the incident site were put on standby for about 5 hours until the scene was determined to be safe. An agent with the FBI also responding to the scene as they assisted with the investigation. The bomb squad did utilize their specialized robot to remove the IED from the train car and then detonated the device to render it safe. A search warrant was obtained and executed on the camp trailer that the suspect was in, where items similar to that device, police say, were found on the train car, as well as controlled substances and other drug paraphernalia. Federal charges for the possession and manufacturing of a destructive device pending the FBI's investigation. Still a lot left to figure out here. We'll keep you updated.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to cover a couple little unrelated stories while we wait for people to join. People have been joining now, so we're going to start getting into the main topics. By the way, there's a press conference coming up in about 10 minutes. That's what I was told anyway. Hopefully that's what's happening, but all right, so suspected Las Vegas CyberTruck bomber. So this is the thing, okay? I heard at first that this guy, the woman that he was with, was like anti-Trump. They were anti-Trump. Now I'm hearing that they're a big Trump. He's a big Trump supporter. So I don't know what's what. Now, they're saying Matthew, he was a Green Beret who was enlisted in the U.S. Army as a teenager and was a fan of President-elect. What? And if he's a fan of the guy, of Trump, why blow himself up outside of the hotel? And there was a lot of going back and forth because they were saying, because the guy had a bullet in his head. He didn't die from an explosion. The press conference is going to be on the Cybertruck. He didn't die from an explosion. I heard that he was already dead. So when did he kill himself? Like, was it, I don't know. Did he have a timer for the detonation thing and offed himself and then blew up? Or there was some speculation that he had the auto drive setting set to drive himself. I don't know, drive his dead body there. Even though they said he made like 8 stops because the battery on this Cybertruck was causing problems. This dude had he had to keep charging the vehicle. But Elon Musk came out and said that the self-driving thing doesn't work unless there's somebody attentive behind the wheel. Even though, I'm pretty sure I've seen videos of people in their not Cybertruck, but those Teslas, people sleeping at the wheel. Tesla driver sleeping. Bro, I remember this shit. They say it doesn't auto drive, but maybe the Cybertruck doesn't, but
a man and woman both apparently asleep in the front seat as their Tesla seems to keep driving, presumably in autopilot mode.
Bro.
Dakota Randall says the car was doing 55 miles per hour.
I did a double take, looked over, and sure enough, this guy was just head between his legs, completely asleep.
It's happened before. In June, this driver was asleep at the wheel of a Tesla on the 405 in Los Angeles. In 2018, a Tesla driver slammed into the back of a stopped fire engine. The NTSB blamed driver inattention and over-reliance on the driver assistance system. The NTSB is still investigating a fatal Tesla crash in...
And carrying the chest so you could put on sunglasses. I guess. Possible, right? And then the thing thinks you're there. Let's see if we're getting any... Hold on. I'm getting information about the... Okay, perfect. I got the link for the press conference. Let me just pull the link up real quick. So the press conference is on the Cybertruck, and that's happening in about 10 minutes. I just got sent the link. All right, cool. So I'm going to have this on my side screen, and I'll put it up in a small window for you guys until it starts so we don't miss it while we keep covering the updates. Oh, that's not the right thing. There we go. Okay. So we're waiting for them. So this guy, Matthew, they're saying a revelation from an interview between Matthew's loved ones and investigators, the source said. His family added that they believe the 37-year-old Green Beret who died in Wednesday's blast outside a Trump International Hotel had Republican leanings. I just don't understand that, yo. He loved Trump, and he was always a very, very patriotic soldier, a patriotic American. It's one of the reasons he was in the special forces for so many years. Records in El Paso County indicate that he registered in 2020 with No Labels Party, who support centrist, common sense candidates. The same email Livelsberger used to sign up for the LinkedIn was listed in a data breach last year that revealed he had an account on the far-right website, the Post Millennial. Interesting. Much remains unknown about what allegedly drove Livelsberger to rent the CyberTruck in his hometown of Colorado Springs and drive it to Trump's Las Vegas property. I had a map earlier. I showed it in the last stream, but I forgot where that link is. If I find it again, I'll show it. But he drove a long way. The truck was filled with explosives and perhaps miraculously only injured 7 when it burst into flames just steps aside from the hotel's front lobby. Livelsberger was the only fatality from the blast. He was a highly trained special operations soldier. Multiple reports revealed Thursday he was stationed in Germany, but was back stateside on approved leave. He enlisted in the U.S. Army when he was still a teenager and was just 1 year away from receiving his full military benefits, having served 19 years. So what went wrong? What happened? He told viewers that the suspect was highly trained in communications and electronic measures for bomb detonations or detections and intelligence operations. Miller noted that there was no clear motive for the explosion, which some have speculated was meant to be a political statement against Trump. I don't get it. But the thing is, too, is that there's Trump supporters that don't like something he did, and then they changed their mind. You know, that there's some people that maybe one or two things they disagree. They were a supporter. Now they hate him. Wasn't one of the assassins, I think, one of the would-be assassination attempts from a guy that was a Trump supporter at some point, and then he got pissed and felt like Trump turned on him? The Ralph guy, maybe? The theory emerged largely because of the explosion's symbolics. The vehicle used a Cybertruck, which is Tesla owner Elon Musk's crown jewel of a vehicle. Musk has been a top Trump ally since the summer, making the explosion's location at the Trump property nearest to the Livelsberger's hometown all more suspicious. Miller theorized that the Cybertruck's driver wanted to make sure that his charged vehicle would appear in close proximity to the massive Trump signage at the front of the hotel. He was trying to send a message, I guess. Is he saying it's 7-something in the morning and there's not a lot of people here? I'm going to come back in an hour to see if there's a bigger crowd, Miller said. Or is he doing reconnaissance as a military operator would, which is who stops you where I'm going to place this so that Elon Musk's vehicle is going to be right under Trump's sign. We don't know the symbolism that they were going for in this attack, but they're looking at all that. Okay. So really, really strange. We're going to come back to this article in a second here. Cybertruck explosion. Investigators pieced together suspect's final hours. Here they have in this article like a little timeline, which I thought was pretty good. Is this the one with the timeline? No, I'm thinking of another one. Oh no, the timeline is the terrorist that I have. The New Orleans terrorist. Oh, so this part here is he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound prior to the blast. I mean, just a really, really, really weird situation. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too. The cheating thing. Yeah, because his wife left him for cheating days before. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. Odd. And when did this guy shoot himself? Like, did he shoot himself in front of the hotel? and had a timed detonation? Or did he shoot himself and the Tesla drove his ass? He had a GPS, whatever, entry, and that shit took his lifeless body in front of the place and he had some type of detonation in it and it blew up or something. Weird. Super odd. An active duty Army soldier. He was found with a gun at his feet, 2 firearms, 1 handgun, 1 rifle were found in the vehicle, burnt beyond recognition. Oh, I did post a picture about that because, so it's just kind of weird. There's another weird tidbit to the story. One of the guns, I kind of jokingly posted this, but I was like, CyberTruck bomber used a Halo gun, blew himself up with fireworks. This is one of the guns here, I guess. And a little bit after, I see this. Las Vegas bomber reached out to his girlfriend a few days before the attack. I rented a Tesla CyberTruck. It's the shit. I feel like Batman or Halo. Wow. It's been wild, so much learning and fun. I rented a CyberTruck. It's the shit. I'm building drones in my new position. You would love it. I feel like Batman or Halo. I don't know if it's cool or I should bully you about it. How fast is it? Ungodly. Strange. So, in this post that went viral, they're saying that Matthew, still a lot we don't know about Matthew, the alleged Vegas bomber, but here's what we do know. He recently made the E8 list for MSG in 2023, and in a 18Z slot, which means he was Special Forces soldier, and if he pinned, would have still been on active duty. This also means he was well within his team sergeant time. He was an 18E Special Forces Communications Sergeant, and then went to the Fox course to become an 18F Intelligence Sergeant before making the E8 list. He also apparently was small.
Blast force trauma can cause problems MS with brain function of soldiers even if they aren't directly hit. Similar to cumulative effects of concussions.
Interesting. Thanks, Kim Sparkle. Thank you for the 10. Blast force trauma. Maybe he had some frontal lobe damage. Or was it the girlfriend? Because I know that these 2 guys, a terrorist guy that went to Texas and the CyberTruck dude, they both had relationship problems and seemed to kind of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Who blows himself up over a relationship, right? I don't know. Maybe that was just one little piece of the ignition or a piece of the puzzle that led up to this. I don't know. He was also apparently small unmanned aircraft systems qualified, which implies he had training as a drone pilot, just like he said in the text message. I'm submitting a FOIA request to his military records, but expect that to take some time. He rented the CyberTruck from Turo, which the terrorist from Texas to New Orleans. He also used the same app to rent his vehicle. Weird. They both drove to different states, I believe. Did they? I know the NOLA guy did, but the CyberTruck one I have to look at again. The back of the truck was full of mortar, fireworks, gasoline canisters, and campfire fuel canisters, which are all combustible, but would not be ideal for an explosion to create maximum damage. Here's the crazy part. With the level of experience he had, how does it make sense that he would rent a CyberTruck, which are known to be bulletproof, and fill it with ineffective explosives that he would know would not actually damage much, if anything? The front windows of the building did not even break. The other crazy part, his wife Sarah has multiple anti-Trump posts on her social media from years ago, or years and years ago. So if he was radicalized, if this was all an attempt to hurt people and destroy a Trump building, why would he go about it in such an incompetent manner and ineffective manner? Lots not adding up here. We'll add more information as it comes to light. And now the one family member saying he was a big Trump supporter. So I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on. There's something weird. Something not adding up. Something doesn't make sense. This is here. CyberTruck bomber Matthew. Wife broke up with him days before the explosion. Homeboy went crazy. You're not going to be with me? It's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than that, right?
CyberTruck. Porra! Caralho! Nossa senhora, que preju! Caramba! Nossa, e foi agora! Tá, porra! Caralho! E foi agora! Ai, meu Deus! As baterias estourando. Nossa, cheiro de queimado? Aham. Elon Musk.
Okay. So the wife breaks up with this. Oh, they're starting. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Let me get this on the big screen here. Let's do it right here. Okay. We'll get back to it after. Thank you, Wendy.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin McMahill. I'm the sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Over the last couple of days, since the bombing and death of the individual inside of the Tesla at Trump Towers, had a number of priorities that we've been trying to accomplish over those days. The first one of those priorities was to confirm that there's no further threat. I think we've completed that. The second was to positively identify the suspect. We've also done that today. I can confirm that that is Matthew Livelsberger. We also wanted to confirm that there were no other actors involved in this incident. I believe we've done that, and you'll hear much more about that as we move forward today. We've also today, I'm going to be able to share with you some of what we believe to be his plans and motives as to why he conducted this attack. Now, before we go on, I want to just address a couple of things before we get too far along here. I want you to know that we're very well aware of a podcast that is going around today and the contents of the letter in that podcast. And I just want you to understand that since we've been conducting these press conferences, I have only given you information that we have verified and deemed to be factually accurate. We've been aware of that document for a while now, and we still have not completely gone all the way through that and verified that entirely.
Gonna have to go over that next.
We are in one of the two telephones and one laptop, so one telephone and one laptop that we still have not been able to get into. There is one cell phone that we are getting into, and I can tell you that we are barely scratching the surface and almost hourly receiving additional information requiring substantial investigative effort.
We'll do the email next.
Of this joint investigation between ourselves, the FBI, and the ATF. And so, again, while I understand all of that is out there, I believe it is our responsibility to give you what we know to be a fact, and that is what I will continue to do as we move forward. A couple of questions came up in regards to the positive identification of the suspect in the vehicle. I want to give you a couple of photographs as to what it was that we had some conversation around, because there's some tattoo comparisons that we needed to do. And in those tattoo comparisons, in this particular photograph, you can see a tiger tattoo, and there's a secondary tattoo on the stomach that the wife had told us about. You can see that some of it is burnt, some of it is not burnt, and while the body was still in the vehicle, we were unable to identify those specific tattoos until we were able to remove some of it. Secondarily to that, there's also a surveillance photograph that we obtained of our subject in Colorado wearing that very distinctive brown jacket. You'll see that a little bit later here in some of the photographs that one of the assistant sheriffs is going to talk to you about. There's also a lot of conversation that I hear out there about the fact that the identifications, the credit cards, and the number of things that I provided to you previously did not show up as burnt in the explosion in the vehicle. And so I did think it was important for me to address a couple of those issues so you understand where we're at. That's a photograph of the wallet. It's a leather wallet. Clearly it's burnt up pretty well. However, that wallet was found in the back seat under some debris in the vehicle, and it contained you'll see in this photograph the credit cards, so a photograph, and a number of other pieces of identifying information. The military identification that I initially told you about was also located within inches of the wallet. And you'll see much of this stuff does have some burn damage on it. The passport that I described to all of you was found in the back, in the bed of the truck under debris as well, and you'll see a photograph of that in there. I also had mentioned to you that we were going to be doing dental records to identify the subject in the vehicle. The Department of Defense provided those dental records to us. We then forwarded them to the coroner, and the coroner also provided a positive identification for us. Finally, we had also requested DNA from the family, which was provided to us, and it matched to our suspect. We then, of course, had now confirmed fully his identity to you. There has been, again, a tremendous amount of investigative effort that has been conducted now, and I'm going to introduce to you Assistant Sheriff Dory Corrin to go over some of the extensive investigation that has occurred. Dory?
Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Sheriff Dory Corrin. I oversee our Homeland Security and Investigative Services Group, which includes our counterterrorism unit that's been working around the clock on this investigation. I just want to briefly share a few updates on some key areas to include the operational activity that led up to this incident, a little bit of information on the post-blast investigation as we know it today, and then finally some of the information that we're discovering most recently about motives and plans to give you some insight on why this individual committed the act that he committed. To begin just with the operational activity, the sheriff yesterday talked about the route that the suspect took to get to Las Vegas. We used a lot of this information to be able to track down video surveillance footage around different locations, as well as financial records, as well as call data records, as well as looking at the Tesla charging stations to be able to determine exactly which route the individual took, but more importantly, that it was the individual that we've identified, as well as the only individual in the vehicle during the path that he took to Las Vegas. As you'll see here in this video here at one of the charging stations, is just one example. You'll see our suspect here. He'll exit the vehicle. He'll walk around the vehicle at different times. At one point, you're going to see that he opens the door of the vehicle. He retrieves a coat. He puts that coat on, and you're going to see that at different parts to include the photo that the sheriff talked about just a few minutes ago. We use this video information as well as what I said earlier about the financial records in terms of purchases being made with different credit cards, call data records, a video canvas at multiple locations, trying to use all of that to corroborate that the individual that we've identified is the same individual that drove that Tesla during that route that we've identified to Las Vegas. In addition to that, we also talked about the phones that were recovered. There were 2 phones that we recovered from the vehicle. Both phones were damaged. We are still trying to access the data in one of the phones, but we have been fortunate in our team, which is second to none, has done a really good job accessing the data in one of the phones that was recovered. You can see the phone here in the vehicle. It's very burnt from the outside. You can see another image here. But we're able to take this phone and be able to extract the data using a variety of different tools. And in that, we've identified a variety of information, but one thing in particular is there was an application in there that the suspect used to take notes. In that application, one of the notes is titled Surveillance Log by the Suspect. It appears to be more of a journal of activity. It dates for about 10 days leading up to the incident, from December 21st to December 31st of this past year. In that surveillance log, or as we would like to call it, a journal, because it's more of a diary of activity that he's conducting, we identify multiple locations that match what we have in the route. We identify activity that we've matched. So, for example, him purchasing firearms, him purchasing camping equipment or other types of equipment that were used in this incident matched what our data showed in terms of the route and the video surveillance we were recovering along that route. Beyond the operational activity, I want to also get a little bit into the post-blast investigation. So, make no mistake, this is a suicide vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, or short, it's a suicide VBID. We know also, as mentioned by the sheriff yesterday, there's a self-inflicted gunshot wound by the suspect.
Right.
The coroner was very specific. In their examination, it was an intraorbital gunshot wound, which essentially means that the suspect put the firearm in his mouth and discharged the gun. and ultimately the round came out to the left side of his head. In addition to that, in terms of our assessment of the post-blast to confirm that he's the only individual involved and the only individual in the vehicle, we did a variety of video and photo comparisons to match the clothing. So if you look here, for example, this is a video in Las Vegas, and you're going to see in a moment here where he parks the Tesla truck. He comes out, and you're going to see some descriptive clothing that matches some of the other video that we've recovered along the route. Please keep in mind, this is a very extensive investigation, so there's a lot of content for us to review and examine. We're just showing examples and samples as we get them. There's more information as we go through it. But in this video, you can see even the distinctive jacket that he is wearing in that vehicle. The other thing that's important is the sheriff mentioned yesterday that Tesla sent to us engineers to come to Las Vegas to help us extract data from the vehicle. Thanks to their support, we were able to extract an SDMI chip from the Tesla vehicle, and Tesla was able to confirm to us using the data from the vehicle that the vehicle was not in full self-driving mode at any time during this incident. Finally, the last category just to touch on is motive, which I know everyone is very eager to try to understand and be able to explain what happened. I'll reiterate what the sheriff said is we still have a large volume of data to go through and a lot of content to go through. As you know, with any one of our devices, there's thousands, if not millions, of videos and photos and documents and web history and all of those things that need to be analyzed. But with that, just as a preview for as we get information, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. There were a couple pieces of content we thought were important to share for now. One is in the note application, he seemed to have 2 letters. One letter in particular, as you can see here, this is an excerpt from that letter. He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. He goes on to explain a variety of other grievances and issues, some political, some personal, a variety of other things which we will do our best to release very quickly here. But then there's a second letter where there's some more excerpts. This one seems...
We're the United States of America, the best country people to ever exist. But right now, we're terminally ill and headed towards collapse.
To be dated after the fact in that notes application. And in there, you can read a couple of the excerpts. We are the United States of America, the best country people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took. I'd like to just also expand on that and understand that these are just excerpts. In there, he does offer additional information that is varying on the spectrum in terms of political grievances, issues about the conflicts elsewhere, not here, domestic issues, societal issues, a variety of other things, including personal challenges as well. We are intending to release those initial letters so people can understand the best they can what the person's thought process was at one point in time. However, please understand there is still a lot more content to go through, and that may change. There may be a lot more information that we recover that explains either more or shows a change in mindset at different times. Before I turn it over to FBI Special Agent Spencer Evans, I just want to take a note and just mention what the sheriff said, which is our counterterrorism section and all of the people involved in this have been working around the clock 24/7, tirelessly, truly through the night. They are second to none, and we really appreciate everything they're doing. With that, turn it over to the FBI.
Good afternoon. My name is Spencer Evans. I serve as the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Las Vegas division. I'd like to express gratitude for everyone that's here today, and especially the partnerships that Sheriff Corrin just highlighted. It's been seamless collaboration between the FBI, ATF, Army, CID, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. You know, if you walked into one of the command posts and someone's not wearing a uniform, you wouldn't be able to tell who works for which agency, and it's been outstanding collaboration. We do have significant updates that we're sharing with you from an investigative standpoint, but just want to reiterate, as Sheriff Corrin mentioned, There is still a lot of ongoing investigation. We have terabytes of data that we have to analyze. We have outstanding search warrants and subpoenas, interviews that are being conducted around the globe as we try to paint a comprehensive picture of exactly what happened. That being said, we do feel confident that we have a much better sense of how we arrived at the events of the 1st of January and additional information that we can provide. So I'd like to first begin by addressing something that continues to be widely speculated, whether or not there was any connection between what happened in New Orleans on New Year's Day and then the incident here in Las Vegas just a few hours later. Just to be clear, there is no evidence that these two events are connected. The only things that we have connecting them are incidental, what we believe to be coincidental similarities in that both vehicles were rented through the same service, that they were both subjects served in the military, that they both stayed at an Airbnb, things like that. We've identified no telephonic or email communication between the subjects, no information that suggests that they knew each other, that they ever served in the same unit, that they were ever assigned at the same place at the same time and had interaction, and no witness interviews have corroborated or provided any information that the two events are connected in any way. In similar fashion, we have not identified any connection between this subject and any other terrorist organization. During the FBI's international investigation to date, as I mentioned, we have interviewed family members, friends, the subject's associates, and military members that he served with around the globe. Through these interviews, we've found that the subject held no animosity towards the president-elect. That's something that's also been reported.
Yeah, it's been...
Investigative steps have discovered, and information from the Army indicates, that he likely suffered from PTSD.
Oh,
we are also aware that there were potential other family issues or personal grievances in his own life that may have been contributing factors. Again, we're looking into all of that. It's evident that the subject considered, planned, and thoughtfully prepared for this act alone. That's what we believe, and we have no information to the contrary at this point. The FBI has been able to confirm some of this through the utilization of video footage in public areas as he traveled from Denver to Las Vegas. We have video footage that shows that he is alone outside of the vehicle, and that corroborates, again, what Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department footage has also shown. The FBI, as the sheriff indicated, facilitated obtaining DNA from a family member that was able to be conclusively matched to confirm the subject's identity. As Sheriff Corrin mentioned, although this incident is more public and more sensational than usual, it ultimately appears to be a tragic case of suicide involving a heavily decorated combat veteran who is struggling with PTSD and other issues. Yesterday, I wanted to highlight, I mentioned a tip that was unverified that the FBI had received. Sheriff McMahon will talk about this. It's now floating around there on podcasts. This is a tip that the FBI received after the bombing occurred that seemed to describe some of the personal grievances that the subject may have held. We still have not conclusively determined that that's from the subject, but feel confident based on evidence that we're uncovering on his devices that that was in fact from Livelsberger. I want to reiterate that prior to this incident, the FBI did not have any information on this subject. He was not on our radar. He didn't have criminal history. There was nothing that we would have been looking into him for up until this point. Last thing I just wanted to highlight briefly is it's not lost on us. We understand that there were victims. While the subject himself was the only person that was deceased, there were several folks that were injured, and obviously any sort of incident like this has a traumatic impact on the greater community and folks that are rightly so going to be scared and concerned, and some people that were inconvenienced and some that were taken to the hospital with injuries. We'd like to remind everyone that we're working with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department advocates, the Office of Emergency Services advocates, and the Southern Nevada Resiliency Justice Center to offer services to these victims. We recognize that there may be victims that are yet unidentified, so for those that might be suffering or otherwise impacted, we'd ask you to reach out to the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. And in similar fashion, as we reiterated yesterday, anyone who has tips related to the subject or this particular incident, please call us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Assistant Special Agent in Charge from the ATF, Kenny Cooper.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kenny Cooper. I'm an Assistant Special Agent with ATF San Francisco Field Division. I have some very quick resource updates. ATF has brought in some of our top experts from our national response team that will assist with the sifting through the debris of the Tesla. And that's an abundance of caution to make sure that we've got the initiation sequence identified as best we can from the evidence that survived the thermal event of this explosion, and to ensure that no other bad actors were involved in the initiation of that device. Also, my second update is to the firearms purchased by our subject on December 30th, 2024. Our ATF investigators were able to track down that lawful purchase at a gun store in Colorado. Our subject arrived in that gun store by himself on December 27th and initiated the ATF Form 4473 and actually paid for those 2 firearms that were recovered from the Tesla on the 27th, and was sole occupant of a vehicle arriving and departing that on that date. And then on the 30th, we have video evidence of our subject entering that gun store as the sole occupant of the Tesla. He actually received and transferred those 2 firearms and took into his possession at that time, and departed as the sole occupant in the Tesla. Those are the 2 updates that I'm here to provide to you at this time. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll entertain a couple questions. If you could, please identify yourself, and we'll go from there. David?
David Charles, KLAS TV. Thanks for taking my question. 2 quick questions. One, the video that you showed of him with the Tesla was able to extract that for you from the device, from the cart. The video you showed him walking around and at the charging stations.
Yeah, so let me just, the question was, can we, the video that we showed, sorry, I was standing back there, so I wasn't sure which one you were looking at, but the question is, the video that we showed at the Tesla charging stations, who provided that to us? I'll let Dory answer that.
Without getting too far into the technicalities, there are various components in there that were retrieved. The SDMI card, it was not where the video was retrieved from. That was where we got the data to be able to determine that it was not in self-driving mode. However, Tesla did provide and helped our team be able to recover the thumb drive that records other types of data to include video by the Tesla.
And what state is this in? Do we know?
Kingman, Arizona.
Okay. Second question is about the detonation. There's a lot of questions. How was he able to die by suicide and set this off? Can you, in very basic terms, explain how that could happen to kind of stop these conspiracies that he's not in?
Yeah, so the second question is how are we able to explain the detonation versus the suicide? And we just believe it to be simultaneous at the time of the detonation. But again, that's why the ATF's bringing in the SABTs from outside to look at what that sequence was for the initiation of the explosion as well. And you know, it's very difficult to see inside of those Teslas, even with the camera angles that we have. And so we still remain challenged on finding some of that exact timing on all of that. Go ahead.
Hi, Stephanie Price, Fox News.
Hi, Stephanie.
We're seeing reports that he had another alias as Matt Berg and went on a TV show in 2013. Have you guys been able to confirm that?
So the question is, if we knew of a alias of Matthew Berg and he had been previously on a television show, we've seen that reporting but have not verified that reporting. Behind you.
That's Kevin Niles with NBC News. How would you describe his state of mind in these final days, given everything that you read from his notes app and the manifesto that you see that you referenced going around in the podcast? Have you guys been able to rule out that it was not from him, or is it still up in the air that it could have been from him?
So the question is, how would I describe his state of mind in the manifesto that was described on the podcast?
We're going to go over that next.
Have we been able to determine whether that was from him or not? And I'll answer the first part. I'm not comfortable giving you state of mind just yet. I certainly am leaning a particular way, but again, I'd like to be factual to you. I think when you read the documents that we're going to give you a link to at the end of this press conference, that you can go in and make some of your own assumptions about what that is. But I will tell you that part of my hesitation on that is I know that we have a lot more documents and number of things for us to uncover, and so I want to be able to provide to you only the factual information when I have it. And so I'm not gonna opine on what I believe his state of mind was at that particular time, but certainly you can see some troubling aspects in his personal life as well. And I don't know if you want to address the second part, Spencer.
Yeah, so in terms of the so-called manifesto that's circulating online, we have strong evidence to suggest that it was the subject that wrote it, but we haven't conclusively proven that yet.
We're going to check it out now, guys.
To other evidence that we're finding that we're able to compare that lead us to believe it was in fact him who sent it.
J1?
Do you have an update on...
Is it J1?
Yes, J1 from 13. Do you have an update on the conditions of the other people who were injured?
The question is, do I have any updates on the conditions of the people who were injured? And I'm told that they're all relatively minor injuries, and they've all been released from the hospital.
Kristen Drummond with News 3. As you were showing us these experts, can you say why definitively he chose the Trump International Hotel and why he decided to come here to Las Vegas?
Yeah, the question is, with the excerpts that we showed, can we definitively identify why he chose the Trump Hotel Tower location as well as Las Vegas? And the answer is no. In fact, I think when you read through some of that, you might find that there were some other considerations as well for other locations. We can't verify all of that at this point, and so that's why I haven't talked about that publicly.
Do you know what other locations he was considering, and were they here in Nevada?
There was one location in Grand Canyon that was specifically talked about there, but we haven't been able to verify anything as well. All the way in the back.
She has a question.
Berenice Zuniga with Univision Las Vegas. Thank you for taking my question. In regards to what happened in New Orleans, I know that you guys mentioned it's a coincidence, but what main evidence makes it different to what occurred over there? That it's not being considered a terrorist attack here.
So the question is why don't we consider what happened in New Orleans and what happened in Las Vegas connected? And the simple answer to that is we don't find anything to actually point us in that direction. There are those coincidences that we have spoken very openly about, but we have not found throughout this entire investigation anything that ties the two attacks directly together. Go ahead in the back.
I had a question. Were you guys able to identify the type of explosives that were in the vehicle and where he would be able to find those?
So the question is, were we able to identify the types of explosives that were in the vehicle and where he was able to find those? There's a mortar-type fireworks in the back of the vehicle, some camping fuel, and we do know that it looks like from that document that we're going to provide to you that he may have stopped outside of a location in New Mexico and obtained those fireworks legally. But that is another aspect of the investigation that continues.
Hi, Noble Brigham with the Review Journal.
Hi, Noble.
Thanks for taking my question. We've heard that the suspect wasn't opposed to President-elect Trump. Do we know anything about what his political views were?
The question is that we know that we've said that he was not opposed, the suspect was not opposed to President-elect Trump, and do we know what his political views are or were? There's a variety of different reporting out there, Noble, on what that is and some of the people around him and what their particular political views were. I think when you read some of these documents, you'll see that he actually calls it a stunt in one of these documents that we're going to release to you, that he was trying to get the attention of the American people because he was upset about a number of different things.
Chaser.
But
So you're saying
I'll let those
chaser.
writings speak for themselves. I'm not conclusively telling you anything about his political affiliations at this point, but I think that's more to come on that. Sir?
Anders Gutierrez at CBS News. Talk to us about this. You have an individual who is obviously struggling with mental health here, a member of the military service. There are others out there who may be struggling with this, a lot of mental health issues here. When they read these letters that you're about to release, how do you quell others who are struggling with the same from carrying out and seeing this as an inspiration? How do you quell the copycats out there?
Yeah, so the question is obviously there's mental health involved in this, as we've already talked about, and how do we quell the others that are similarly situated to him out there in America? And, you know, I think Spencer rightly talked about this for a moment is what you can tell by looking at this, that PTSD from a highly decorated United States currently serving military individual, from what I'm told was 5 tours of combat, obtained some of the highest awards you can get. It's not much different, quite frankly, than the reasoning why we started our wellness bureau here at Metro and taking care of the heart, mind, body, and soul of the people that are out there doing this work, because they're exposed to things, they see things, they hear things, they feel things, and they smell things that most normal people don't have to do. And the heroes that are serving in the military and on the front lines of America's policing are challenged that way. And so I think, we need to really pay attention to those individuals, pay attention to what mental health in America looks like. And I think this is just one more incident that brings that to the forefront of where it is that we are in talking about these types of things. I'll take one more.
Rio, AP, thanks for taking my question.
Sure.
Do you know why he chose a CyberTruck? Was he trying to send a message, considering who the CEO is? And then, just really quickly, could you confirm
Elon's fault.
The Sean what?
Is it the Sean Ryan podcast?
Is that the name? Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Ryan.
Can I tell you why he chose the Cybertruck? Is the first question? No, not really. I haven't been able to find anything definitive about it. Secondly, is it the Sean Ryan podcast? And yeah, that's the podcast that I'm referring to. And I'm sorry, there was one more hand over here that. Go ahead.
Guy Tannenbaum, Channel 14 here in Las Vegas.
Hi.
Has there been any more speculation, more understanding on why he chose the route that he chose? Obviously, coming from Colorado, you can go through Utah. That's a more common way to hit the 15. Any more understanding when we're thinking about all the different potential sites that he could have chosen for this?
So the question is do we know why he chose the route that he chose? I don't think we can tell you we know why he chose it, but I can tell you that there's some writings in those documents that we're going to release to you that he mentioned going to the border as well as going to the Grand Canyon. And so we continue to look through all of the available evidence to help us answer that question better. And with that, I'd just like to again thank you all for the great work you're doing in helping us get this story out. And obviously, as we get additional information, we'll push it out to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's check out this quote-unquote manifesto, this email that's breaking headlines right now. So, and somebody was telling me in the chat earlier, there's a guy named Sean Ryan Show, and he dropped the video. And apparently, let me see, according to this tweet, it says that this episode takes a deep dive into the manifesto. An email sent to Samuel Soar. Is that the same guy? Let me see. It might be a different guy. I don't know. By Matt himself. Within the chilling document, Livelsberger boldly declares, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. So let's check it. Let's take a look at what he said. There's an email here. I downloaded it. If you guys could help me out with the like button, please like, share, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, helps me out a lot. The algorithm. And the FBI says they believe it's from him. They haven't fully confirmed it, but they believe it's him. And so it starts off here. This was sent January 31st. In case I do not make it to my decision point or on to the Mexico border, I'm sending this now. Please do not release this until January 1st and keep my identity private until then. Damn. First off, I'm not sure. First off, I'm not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered by aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast. But throughout history, the US, only we in China have this capability. Our OPCEN location for this activity is in the box below. Hold up, let's see, what is that? Gravitic propulsion. is a theoretical concept that involves using gravity or gravity-like fields to propel a vehicle. Whoa, it's like some alien shit. It's a complex field that involves sophisticated materials, testing techniques, and complex theories. Some ideas of gravitatic propulsion include gravitational wave propulsion. This concept uses gravitational waves for space propulsion. It's been proposed that gravitational wave propulsion is more efficient and performs better than the traditional rocket propulsion. Gravitational acids. This concept uses the normal attractive gravity of stars to launch a spacecraft. For example, a spacecraft can be launched up to 1 part per thousand of the speed of light in its vicinity of stars. Riding on gravitational waves, a vehicle could ride on the crest of a gravitational wave and gain energy from it. Electric gravitatic propulsion, this concept doesn't require moving parts, propellers, jets, or chemical propellants. It's also highly reliable and can be easily adapted to existing and future CubeSat structures. Interest in gravitatic propulsion research intensified in the United States in the early 1950s. However, the rationale, effectiveness, and longevity of these research efforts have been debated. Okay, all right, so this guy's talking about the drones. I haven't, Funky. The drones and gravitatic propulsion systems, China and the US. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity has recently picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they send the balloon for SIG Intel and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. Damn, so he's saying all those China balloons, they're all over the place. Everywhere. Okay. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House. If they want it, it's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. Damn, how can it be the West Coast, man? I've been followed for over a week now. From likely Homeland or FBI. And they're looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I'm armed and I have a massive VBIED. Let's see what that is. VBIED. Oh, vehicle borne improvised explosive device. Holy shit. So was he paranoid? Was this mental health? They were saying that, I don't know, what were they saying? He has some type of, they were saying mental health or PTSD. They mentioned PTSD. Or was he really being followed by the government, the feds? But if the government was following him and they see him gathering all these explosive devices, I would have thought maybe they'd intervene. I don't know. But anyway, this is his state of mind. Okay, so he said they can attack anywhere in the East Coast. And he's saying that he's been followed for a week from Homeland Security or the FBI. And they're not going to let him cross into Mexico because he's armed and has a massive explosive, I guess, improvised device. Car bomb. Something. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile, and I've kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, Department of Defense, DEA, CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of CVAX that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. US 4 continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with US FORA, an agent was redacted of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. So he's saying it was to try to abduct him. I worked with Jen Miller's IO staff on this, as well as the response to Bala Murghab. AOB's commander at the time can validate this. Whoa. Nimruz, let me see. Nimruz province, 2019 attack. The United States went to war in 2001 with Afghanistan to wage a necessary war of self-defense. We're talking about 2019, though. Very weird. Okay. All right, let's see the second part of the email. All right, second part of the email.
Maybe it's just me, but the fact that an agent's name is redacted gives credibility to what he's saying.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Thank you for the 10, Anna. What did we leave? Okay. Is this the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing, except this last part. You need to evaluate this to the media so we avoid a world war, because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Preventing my LinkedIn is Matt Berg, or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18Z. Out of 1 through 10, my profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access. Weird. Yeah, a couple of names redacted. So the podcast, if you want to check it out, I'm going to check it out later. Maybe I'm going to listen to it. The podcast, because I'd like to hear this person actually talk about it, maybe give some context. Or I don't know. The podcast that dropped this video, the Sean Ryan Show, I'll put the link to the video in the description. Give me a second. Sean Ryan Show. Sean Ryan Show. I put the link right there. Okay. Hey, Hug Dealer, how you doing? Happy New Year. So that's crazy. They acknowledged it during the press conference. And one of the things that happened to this guy recently, too, which was mentioned already multiple times, is that his wife apparently broke up with him a few days before the explosion. And supposedly this guy was cheating. I think they had a newborn baby. That's the tattoos that we saw in the press conference. The wife of the U.S. soldier who blew up the Tesla truck outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas on Wednesday broke up with him 6 days before he killed himself inside a vehicle. He left his Colorado Springs home the day after Christmas following an argument with his wife over apparent infidelity. His wife, who had a baby daughter with Livelsberger, reportedly told him that she knew he had been cheating. After leaving Colorado, he rented a CyberTruck on the Turo app and made his way to Vegas. where he parked in front of the Trump Hotel on New Year's Day, detonated explosives stashed in the truck, and shot himself. I don't know how that happens. Because in the press conference, they said, oh, maybe he did it simultaneously. How do you do that simultaneously? Blow it up and shoot yourself. I mean, unless you had a timer or something, but they mentioned simultaneous, I guess. Weird. And they're saying he had no problems with Trump in the press conference. One of his family members said he was a big Trump supporter. But his wife supposedly, I don't know if they're referencing this woman. They said that she was anti-Trump. Won't make no sense.
DNA and medical records to confirm that Livelsberger is indeed the person whose charred remains were found in the Cybertruck. 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne now here live in studio. Kyle, with what we know about Livelsberger the day after that deadly explosion.
Brian, information flooding into our newsroom since the moment we got the news of the explosion. A lot of it about the man police and the FBI think is responsible. Matthew Allen Livelsberger, 37 years old, and a highly decorated Green Beret.
There are 2 tattoos, one of which was on the stomach and one of which is on the arm, that we can see bits and pieces of it as in comparison to.
In comparison, Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMahill says, to tattoos belonging to 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, which police and federal agents were using to link the 37-year-old with Wednesday's explosion.
The interesting message that they released during his press conference, he said this was not a terrorist attack, it was a wake-up call. Americans want to pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? So in his head, he wanted to get people's attention. And not only just offing himself, maybe he figured he wanted to make a spectacle, like you said. He wanted to do something big, grab people's attention. I'm going to get this Cybertruck. I'm going to do it in front of Trump's hotel. And not only am I going to off myself and blow myself up, but I'm going to make a fire light show out of it, a firework light show, and blow myself up and make a nice little presentation, I guess. You know, why did I personally do it now? I needed to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took. So he probably is dealing with some type of, well, like they said, PTSD, guilt. I don't know how, you know, I don't know what kind of stuff that would do to somebody, their mind, their mentality. I can only imagine, you know. So I don't know. I mean, you know, both things can be true. Maybe there's some type of mental help, but maybe he has legitimate claims as far as like his email, this China stuff. You know, I'm not saying it's right. It seems like he really didn't want to hurt anybody. Maybe he really didn't want to hurt anybody. Maybe he just used himself. I mean, people got injured. Nobody was killed besides himself.
Livelsberger, a highly trained, highly decorated military man since 2006, who served as a Green Beret, a unit that works to counter terrorism abroad, serving most recently in Colorado and in Germany.
We've already received thousands of tips related to this incident.
Spencer Evans is the special agent in charge of the Las Vegas office of the FBI.
But one of the tips that we received just today relates to information alluding to this subject's personal experiences related to his time and activity in the military.
In his time in the military, he was awarded a total of 5 Bronze Stars, including 1 with a Valor Device for Courage Under Fire, a Combat Infantry Badge, and an Army Commendation Medal with Valor. His military ID, passport, driver's license photo, and weapons found in the charred remains of this Tesla Cybertruck, along with what was left of Livelsberger's body, which was so badly burned it took a good while for police to get him out of it.
They just live an ordinary life with their newborn and take and walk sometime. That's really all I know of him.
Livelsberger's neighbor, Kenny Mack, knew something was up when she heard a helicopter circling above her neighborhood. She says she doesn't see him around the neighborhood as much as she does his wife, who she coincidentally just began working out with at the gym. She knows him to be tattooed, which tracks with information and photos issued at a Metro Police press conference earlier Thursday.
It's one of those things where you find it hard to believe, you know. You hear like it could be your neighbor, and then that's just really sinking in at this point that it literally could be your neighbor.
That neighbor lives in Colorado, where she spoke with our Colorado Springs affiliate. Sheriff McMahill said today police are looking into any other connections Livelsberger had here in Vegas. He may have stayed here previously, but the sheriff said he's uncertain exactly when.
Well, and people are leaving comments under the podcaster's video saying, better watch this before YouTube takes it down. Maybe I should download it just in case they do take it down. Sometimes they're very weird about that stuff, manifesto stuff. I don't know. Let me just download it in case, so at least I can watch it if it gets taken down. Make a little backup of it just in case, okay? And I didn't even get into the terrorist situation.
Terror watch list. Joining me now, former FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, former New Jersey Police Lieutenant, and former Office of Naval Intelligence, Steve Rogers. And Steve, I'm so glad you're here with us this morning. I want you to give us your initial take on everything we have learned so far about him, and really talk about the possible, radicalization of him by either ISIS itself or whether that was an inspiration from ISIS.
Well, we have a few things to look at here. I could tell you I've been speaking with a number of law enforcement officers who are following this case. I've got to tell you, the overwhelming number of us feel that it's impossible. It's got to be impossible within a 24 to 48-hour period from the start of this incident that the FBI came up with these conclusions. For example, that he didn't act alone. I mean, this has to be an extensive investigation. They usually take, if not a few weeks, a month or so. And
this is the New Orleans guy. We could watch it on Discord, too, if you guys want to watch it together. I mean, right now at this moment. I could schedule something ahead of time if you guys want to watch it as a group. Podcast is an hour long.
A lot of people have to be interviewed. You have to have a forensic analysis of all the electronic equipment. Where is there any money involved from a foreign entity? So the fact of the matter is that I don't have much confidence in the FBI at this point. And by the way, if you remember, they first came out and said there was no terrorist connection. Then they said it was a terrorist attack. A lot of confusion down there. So that's something that they're going to have to get their act together. But I believe, and most of my colleagues believe, that at the very least, there were other people involved in the planning of this, if not executing it on the day that he did this.
You know what, Steve? It's interesting you say this because you're picking up on something that Senator Marsha Blackburn said, and is the fact that you had a reporter from the New York Post in Houston go to his home before the FBI got there. They didn't go to his home until 1 p.m. that day. And she's saying that it's disgraceful that the FBI was so behind the ball. Never mind the fact that they initially said that this was not a terror event. And then the New Orleans mayor said, absolutely, yes, it was.
This is inside the New Orleans attacker's home. They got inside his home. They said his house was trashed. They say he was living in squalor.
In the same press conference. So that's one question for you. But the other is just the culture at the FBI, change in leadership. I mean, what is going on at the FBI? Because Kash Patel has been nominated now to take over. Chris Wray is retiring, as we know, leaving. What is going on in the functioning of the FBI? Because this investigation from the get-go, there's been a lot of criticism against the agency.
Look, training has been changed from strategic training, tactical training, training on how to really complete thorough investigations to DEI. That has devastated the FBI. It has devastated law enforcement across the country. It has done no good to help the people of this country remain safe and secure. The FBI has to get back to its main mission, and that is to investigate crimes and do those investigations. You set up procedures to prevent things like this from happening. Our human resources are not as widespread as they used to be. People are not joining the FBI like they used to. Look, when I was a kid, I remember J. Edgar Hoover in those days, and watching the FBI on TV, you'd want to run to become an FBI agent. That's not happening anymore. And that is a ripple and chilling effect in every law enforcement agency in the United States of America. The agents on the field, God bless them, the men and women out there are trying to do the best they could. But when you speak to a lot of them, morale is bad. They can't wait to retire, just like the local law enforcement officers can't wait to retire.
That's unfortunate because there's so many good agents within the FBI and many hardworking men and women. So the fact that they want to leave and retire is unfortunate. But, also, too, we're in a very precarious precarious position in time right now in our nation. We've had years of an open border. We don't know who has been coming across that border, whether it's gotaways. We know that we have seen many on the terror watch list that have been identified as crossing through the southern border. That's one issue. James Carafano writes on FoxNews.com that, quote, more Islamist terror is coming and we are woefully unprepared. Your response?
Well, we are woefully unprepared. Back when I was on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, our daily concern, major concern, was terrorists crossing that border and coming into the United States, perhaps scattering all over our country and then meeting up as terrorist cells. And I always said, this isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm sad to say that, well, when may be now. This may be the beginning of something that we're going to have to really address moving forward. But we're not prepared right now. We need more electronic surveillance. We need more human resources on the ground. We just need a lot of leadership in the FBI that's going to do, as I said earlier, what they are trained to do or should be trained to do, and that is to protect the American people.
Okay, Steve, so let's talk about what happened in Las Vegas. So police have identified 37-year-old an active duty Green Beret, Matthew Livelsberger from Colorado. He was the driver of the CyberTruck that exploded New Year's Day in front of Trump International Hotel. Officials say he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head before the explosion. The FBI is claiming there's no definitive link between this incident and the deadly New Orleans terror attack, but there are some eerie similarities here. Here is more from the Las Vegas police. Watch.
And there are a number of things in this case that are.
Yeah, somebody said he turned himself, the CyberTruck guy, he turned himself into a firework display at Trump's building because of his love for Trump. I mean, the PTSD thing, that makes sense. I mean, I want to watch that. I am going to check out that podcast. I have a chance.
To find out why a highly decorated Army soldier blew up a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. A law enforcement source says the driver was Matthew Livelsberger, a Green Beret who was on leave from his base in Germany. CNN's Natasha Chen joins me now from Las Vegas. Natasha, what more are we learning?
Somebody here left a comment on the video and said, I grew up with him, played sports and hung out with him throughout high school. Sean, something doesn't seem right. In November 2024, he accepted a role as a remote and autonomous systems manager while stationed at Camp Panzer Kastner, just southwest of Stuttgart, Germany. In that job, he helped to integrate drones into the Army and ensure they were operated and maintained to a sufficient standard. That is from Newsweek article. I just wonder what the F was really going on. I mean, this guy knew what he was doing. He knows technology. Those drones.
Well, Jim, this is very shocking to the people who knew him, who've spoken to CNN. Someone who used to work with him said that he had advanced steadily in rank in the military to team sergeant and then second in command to the captain of the Special Forces detachment, and mentioned that his background in Special Forces and explosives seemed at odds with what happened here behind us at the Trump Hotel on New Year's Day morning, where the materials found in that Tesla Cybertruck were fireworks and other things that could have been purchased in retail stores. The investigators yesterday at a press conference talked about the relative lack of sophistication of those materials compared to the extensive background this person had in the military. He became a father in April of last year. CNN has reached out to his wife but has not heard back. His social media presence was sparse, but a relative of his did say that when President Trump was in office, he posted on Facebook saying that he had a lot of respect for President Trump, especially how he was helping the military. And so that relative believed that Livelsberger really loved the president, loved President Trump. And so there are a lot of pieces here that investigators are.
Yeah, so it seems his intention wasn't to hurt people, even though he did hurt people. He didn't kill anybody, but he, besides himself. There's some conversations people are having here too about this drone situation. Let's just tune in for a second.
Former director of. There's a lot of really dangerous chaos at play behind the scenes. You, I think, had been interested in, inquiring into who's behind this slow drip model for disclosure. Two individuals who worked with the former director of national intel. At this point, former director of national intelligence, Avril Haines, one of whom is a CIA officer who worked with her as a colleague in UFO working group meetings, UAP working group meetings, roundtables, basically. And from another individual who worked directly under her as a private contractor and who also had very high-level contracts with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which is the same organization that David Grush is coming from out of, right?
Yeah, the NGA.
So I have two independent points of confirmation about, what the slow drip disclosure agenda was. And it was an agenda being run from out of Avril Haines' office, apparently with her as the director of it. And the agenda was this, okay? First of all, their priority was to make it appear as if the United States government was not investigating UAPs in any serious way prior to 15, 20 years ago, prior to the Nimitz incident and these videos of the Tic Tac and so forth that they released, okay? So they wanted a clean slate approach where they're not going to be held legally accountable for anything that they had done in the preceding 70 years or more, actually. This was like a 4 or 5 phase plan that they have that was supposed to be unfolded over the course of something like 15 to 20 years. And the first phase, I was told, was that they were going to use the James Webb telescope, this new telescope that they have out there, to basically release to the public imagery of apparent artificial structures on distant bodies in our solar system. Then the next phase was that they'd identify structures on the moon, on our own moon, and on Mars that are artificial. And the third phase was that they were going to try to connect these structures on the moon and Mars to anomalous archaeological sites on Earth. The fourth phase was going to be anthropological, that they were going to excavate remains of humanoids who they believed were responsible for these engineering anomalies on the moon, Mars, other moons in the solar system, and also for anomalous sites on Earth.
Okay.
There's a lot.
I don't really know what they're talking about.
Trying to put together. We understand that the Tesla company is helping out law enforcement here with trying to retrieve more data and potential video from inside that Cybertruck.
A mystery on the Las Vegas Strip.
He said, I urge everyone to dedicate at least 45 minutes to fully grasp the details that have unfolded over the past few days. This episode takes a deep dive into the manifesto. We might have to check it out. Maybe on Discord. I don't know that I can play this guy's full podcast. I don't know if he'd do like a copy claim or something, I did put the link in the description, though. Maybe we could do a little Discord stream and watch it together.
Validating. First thing is said that,
because it has a lot of information. It's an hour long. Okay, so Sean Ryan hosted the guy Sam Sawyer, Sam Sawyer was sent an email directly to Matt. So Sean, I guess, said, all right, come on, let's talk about it. So he had him on the podcast. Very interesting. Okay.
Trip as police search for why someone intentionally caused a Tesla Cybertruck to explode in front of the Trump International Hotel. Well, we have new details about that suspect. Matthew Livelsberger was an active duty Green Beret based in Germany, but he was on leave. A relative tells CNN Livelsberger was a strong supporter of President-elect Trump, praising him for helping the military. Now, investigators say they found Livelsberger's military ID inside the burned-out Cybertruck, along with 2 weapons, additional fireworks, his passport, an iPhone, and a smartwatch. And police used Tesla charging stations to track Livelsberger's movements before the explosion. They say that he rented the Cybertruck in Denver on December 28th, before driving through New Mexico and Arizona and arriving in Las Vegas just yesterday morning. Now, security cameras showed the truck pulling into the front of the Trump Hotel once before leaving and visiting other businesses up and down the strip. But an hour later, the truck heads back to the Trump Hotel, pulling into the valet area and parking before exploding 17 seconds later. Now, despite all of this evidence, police are still searching for why this happened. But investigators say they're aware that a Tesla Cybertruck exploding in front of a Trump hotel, well, it raises questions for a lot of people, doesn't it?
It's not lost on us that it's in front of, of the...
Which is get into the phones, get into the computers, get into the house.
It's interesting, too. They were saying they're having a hard time accessing one or two of his phones.
Are there communications with radical groups or extremists, right-wing extremists?
If FBI and she were following him, why didn't they stop him from exploding?
Dubs, Kid Dubs, how you doing? I hope you're having a good day. If you missed the chase from earlier, go check it out. That was pretty fun. But yeah, I was asking the same question, and someone in the chat also brought it up, and Raz also brought up the whole thing of Fast and Furious operation, which the Fast and Furious, just a very small tidbit, says Operation Fast and Furious was a failed law enforcement strategy in which the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, allowed the illegal sale of more than 2,000 firearms to straw purchasers. Basically, I guess, maybe they let him go. Maybe they just wanted to keep an eye on him. Maybe they were, maybe they were looking to see if he was connected to other people, or I don't know. I'm leaning towards he had some type of PTSD and mental health problems, but I don't know. Maybe that some of the things he said could be valid in the email.
Left-wing extremists, and that's what they're not finding. Are there connections or community?
I mean, no, I don't think a sane person would do that. Go off themselves and I guess to get their message across. I mean, I guess people do that all the time. The stories that we cover, these manifestos.
Communications or associations with the New Orleans suspect who blew up, who had IEDs and did the ramming attack there. That's what they're not finding. What they are starting to see, though, are personal issues in his life, things going on in his family life that were problems for him, things going on in his Army life as a Special Forces Green Beret counterterrorism, counterinsurgency specialist, signs of depression, signs of sadness about long deployments and being away, talk about PTSD, about the amount of violence that they're exposed to, the killing, collateral damage of non-combatants, civilians who were killed. These are things that affect a lot of special operators. So they are, as they're looking for connections between the New Orleans attack and this explosion in Las Vegas, what we're starting to see is the cases drifting apart instead of together. This could have been a organized suicide after a series of life-depressing stressors and a final stressor that might have broken the camel's back, where he wanted to go out literally with a bang in a symbolic location. What does that mean, Laura? Is he trying to say these are the problems that America's most elite soldiers are facing, and I want the new president to know about it?
Is it possible he got the Cybertruck to minimize damage, casualty to others?
I don't know. I've heard people talk about that because they were saying during a press conference that that's what actually made the explosion less damaging, less effective, and that even the front doors of the place, the glass doors were not broken or phased. I don't know. I don't know if he put that much thought into it. Maybe. Or maybe it's just he's trying to get Elon's attention and trying to do it at Trump's hotel. He's trying to bring attention to it from the biggest people.
Our way to deliver a message, and maybe that's a reach, but it's what they're looking at now, along with many other things. And, they're keeping an open mind because you don't know where the case is going to go.
We don't know, Bishop. We don't know what the connections, if there are any. We do know that there are some red flag, maybe coincidences, but whether they will turn out to anything, I don't know. But we do know this is somebody who is a Green Beret, active duty, by the way. He had been awarded multiple medals. The ATF says the, quote, level of sophistication is not what you'd expect from someone who has all of these sort of accolades and training. But Tell me, I'm picking your brain here. What does it suggest to you that this correlation between all of his training and the way this all went down?
Well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to the communities here, both New Orleans and with Las Vegas, because this creates so much tension, so much trauma for those individuals that are just
I'll check it
trying to
out.
live
6
their lives.
Given
that we know that he was Master Sergeant active duty with Special Forces, the operations tempo over the course of the last 20 years, when you talk about GWAT, when you talk about the global war on terrorism, has just been so high for these individuals. So much stress. As I myself served 2 tours in Iraq, I served with a great many Special Forces officers enlisted. I know just the pressures that they're going through, both while they're actively in combat and then back at home. When you come back and you have some of these added stressors that John kind of alluded to. The first things first, we need more information. We need to understand a little bit better about what was going on in his life, what might have driven him to this type of activity.
Why he was on leave.
Why he was on leave, why the Trump Tower, why there's so many different ways that he could have gone about doing this that could have made a bigger statement, that could have made more destruction, that could have made less, that he could have written an email, could have written a letter, or he could have had a more powerful explosive given his skill set. So we just don't know.
Yeah. I just saw this on Twitter and somebody made this post. It says breaking video emerges from the Houston mosque. And we're getting to the topic now. This guy, Shamsud-Din Jabbar. Video emerges from the Houston mosque where the New Orleans terrorists attended. And it says, in quote, the Jews created havoc wherever they went in the face of this earth. Allah turned some of them into monkeys, pigs, and rats. And I had read something too. This person also commented under there and said that this is the same mosque that told its congregants not to cooperate with the FBI or the investigation. What are they hiding? I don't know if it's in English. Let me see.
One of the stories that we learn in the Quran is the story of Ashab al-Sabt in Surah Al-A'raf.
That was from August 16, 2021. We don't have to listen to the whole thing.
The story of the people
mosque.
of Saturday. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them not to fish on Saturday. And the test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for these people came in the form that throughout the week, the fish would be less in quantity.
A screenshot of a message issued by a Houston area mosque has gone viral, claiming that the mosque instructed its members to not give any information about Shamsud-Din Jabbar to the media or the FBI. The message was issued on New Year's Day, hours after Jabbar plowed in his truck into the New Orleans crowd. It says here the message did not ask its members not to cooperate with the investigation, but it asked every member to stay vigilant. Okay. So I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe it's not true then. In a statement, the group said, we stand in solidarity with the people of New Orleans in the wake of the senseless and horrific crime. Anyone with any potentially relevant information should come forward. Okay, so they didn't say that. Maybe somebody just made it up. What are they hiding? So this is inside. This woman got access to this guy's house in Houston, Texas.
Jenny Terra here with the New York Post. We are here in Houston, Texas. This is the home of the terror suspect in the New Orleans attack. We are here this morning just after the FBI did a joint raid on the home. Yesterday, this was completely enclosed. There were individuals home who later came out when the FBI showed up and told people to come out with their hands up. But before that, we weren't able to access the home. Some of the neighbors said they had interacted with the suspect, describing him as normal, said hi when they would walk by. This is a majority Muslim community. It's a small enclosed street. The home actually, interestingly enough, and I don't think they're out today, but there were sheep, goats in the yard here. There's chickens all kind of roaming around the side. Again, didn't see anyone come out yesterday until law enforcement showed up, but we had some suspicion that someone was home because there were 3 cars there. More to come on this, but we're learning just about this individual, how he was radicalized after serving in the military.
For more stories like these, be sure to subscribe.
Radicalized. Oh, this is the brother too. So apparently the brother of Shamsud-Din Jabbar speaks with this reporter.
So the brother of Shamsud-Din Jabbar says these actions were completely unlike the Army veteran.
KFDM's Sydney Ferguson is in studio now after speaking with his family earlier. In Sydney, how did they find out?
Kimberly, Aaron Abdur-Jabbar says one of his aunts actually called him to share the news. It was normal for the family not to spend holidays together, but his brother's actions have completely blindsided and devastated their family.
I'm still shocked by the whole thing. It still doesn't seem like it actually happened.
14 people dead and dozens of others injured after a truck plows through New Year's Eve celebrations on New Orleans' Bourbon and Canal streets. 24-year-old Abdur-Jabbar assumed someone was having mental health issues or was angry. He didn't think the driver would be his own brother.
I just dropped my phone and crawled into a corner somewhere and started crying.
With an 18-year age gap, Jabbar says he and his brother, 42-year-old Shamsud-Din Jabbar, weren't always close, but had grown closer since their father suffered a stroke in 2023.
He was coming around a little more often to check on him and if there's anything he needed.
Jabbar says his brother was kind, caring, and compassionate, a description completely opposite to how the world has come to know him. Since the deadly attack, the FBI has found evidence Shamsud-Din talked about killing his family as well.
That's unbelievable, honestly. I can't imagine him doing anything like that.
That's crazy. Yeah, that came out that he was actually considered killing his family, and then he changed his mind. Oh, sorry.
Do anything like that.
Jabbar says his brother only returned home to Beaumont 2 or 3 times a year. The last time the siblings saw one another was 6 months ago.
Everything was just how he had always been with me and around the rest of his family, full of love, well-mannered, well-tempered, helpful.
While the family's imam says Shamsud-Din seemed different, Jabbar says he showed no signs of the acts he would commit on New Year's Day.
He grew out his beard and he became more modest in his dressing. Nobody's seen anything like this coming.
Jabbar says he isn't sure when his brother may have become radicalized, but it isn't something his family condones or believes in.
This is completely out of character for him, these actions. And they're also not any type of representation of what it means to be a Muslim.
Jabbar says his brother's actions aren't the essence of who he was, but it is a legacy he leaves behind.
This is somebody else. The suspect's Army friend speaks out. Short little clip they posted.
No red flags. Great soldier. Phenomenal friend. I was absolutely floored. I buckled up and I couldn't talk for 20, 30 seconds. I was just, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
This is a neighbor of Shamsud-Din Jabbar. Whatever.
Well, I seen him. Obviously, was my neighbor.
What was he like?
Like calm, collect, don't talk much, very private person. Don't interrupt us. We don't interrupt him.
What was your reaction when you saw this on the news?
I'm still not recovered. I'm still shocked.
Do you know anything about his religious beliefs?
I don't believe he's believe in anything the way he did it. There's no religion as
no religion as part of violence. All of them part of violence.
There's no religion as spread the violence.
Does he go to a mosque or anything?
Nothing I know of. Nothing I know of.
Do you go to the mosque that's right down the street?
Of course I do.
And you're not familiar with him there at all?
I'm only familiar because he's the neighbor. That's all I know about him.
Yeah, man. Let's show a little bit of the house right here. I think we saw this
Act of evil.
This video taken just this morning, and you see the inside of that suspect's trailer. It was obtained by our sister station in Houston, KPRC. It's all part of a massive investigation in the aftermath of that New Orleans attack.
The FBI and the Harris County Sheriff's Office have determined that there's no threat to anybody living near the trailer. One of the suspect's neighbors was shocked after hearing about the attack and also the attacker.
Blow my mind. Blow my mind. Oh, it's shock. Like somebody sneezed the carpet under my suit. I was just like too shocked. Unbelievable shocked.
Right now, authorities are also saying that the suspect is from Texas and also served in the U.S. Army.
Yeah, he apparently rented a truck on December 30th, then drove from Houston to New Orleans on New Year's Eve.
All right. This is the feds went to collect evidence from the house. Bomb squad went there earlier today too. This is just a little overview. Collecting evidence. Had the chopper out there. Jabbar. So they went to collect evidence, and the bomb squad, I don't know if they say it here. Yeah, bomb squad returned to Shamsud-Din Jabbar's home on Friday. And they had a little assistant with the timeline. Some new pictures of him. In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the war between the believers and the disbelievers. Oh, Lord. Damn.
Related to the Bourbon Street attack investigation. Right now in North Harris County, the road where the suspect lived is once again shut down by authorities. This comes just 4 hours after the FBI told KHOU 11 that precursor chemicals were found inside that home. Julissa Garza has been the only local reporter on the scene all morning. She's joining us live from the intersection of Hugh Road and TC Jester. Julissa, how are things looking right now?
Well, Reka, earlier this morning, we were standing along Hugh Road right across Crescent Peak Drive. That is where the suspect's home is located, with multiple mobile homes on the property. We were there all morning until about 10:15 when authorities told us to move here. As you can see over my shoulder, Hugh Road is blocked off, and that's why we're standing on the intersection of TC Jester and Hugh Road. But we want to go ahead and have you look at your screen. Take a look. This is what we initially saw at around 10:15 this morning. Two sheriff's deputies' vehicles arriving and blocking the entrance to Crescent Peak Drive, the street where the suspect's home is located. If you remember, this time yesterday, we were giving you a closer look at that property. Now, we're told FBI is on the scene once again, and FBI did tell us earlier this morning that precursor chemicals were found at the mobile home the suspect was
Precursor chemicals.
living in. The specific materials and their intended use remain unclear. The FBI did not elaborate more and referred us to the FBI New Orleans office, as they are the lead investigators. Now, yesterday morning, Air 11 did get video that showed crews in hazmat suits around the home as they investigated. Now, eventually yesterday, we were able to see the mobile home the suspect was living in on the property. There's multiple mobile homes, as I mentioned, and metal fences separating them. There's a metal fence right in front of the suspect's mobile home that was torn down after hours of authorities searching. Now, back out here at the scene, as I mentioned earlier, Hugh Road is blocked off. Sheriff's deputies' cars got here at around 10:15, and from there we've just seen more law enforcement vehicles show up. We are still waiting for updated information from.
All right. It was I think this guy has it. Let me see, Robino News. He had the victims' pictures. I don't know if they've posted all of them yet. But this lady we spoke about, 18-year-old Nicara, and 25-year-old Billy DeMaio. This is the 9th victim. This is a 63-year-old Terrence Kennedy. This is the 10th victim. He's also known as Terry. And there might be an article because I thought I saw some more names, the New Orleans victims. Let's see. They did identify. It says here 11 identified.
Have begun erecting a memorial for the victims.
Live there on a balcony here on Sense of not a lot of hand kissing people, flowers, pockets of.
Yeah. Okay. Elliot Wilkinson, 40 years old. Terry Kennedy, 63. Just covered him. Got Billy DeMaio, 25 years old. Drew Daffin. A lot of young people. Matthew Tenedorio. Graduated high school at Pearl River Central High School. Nicara, we covered her, 18 years old. Reggie Hunter, 37 years old, father of 2 from Baton Rouge. Made a last-minute decision to visit Bourbon Street after finishing his shift at work. Wow. Hunter and his cousin were both struck by the speeding vehicle. His cousin survived with injuries. Tiger Betch, 28 years old, a former Princeton University football star and graduate. 28. Nicole Perez, late 20s, a single mother of a 4-year-old son. Kareem Badawi, recent graduate of Episcopal High School. Hubert, 21 years old. Wow. Crazy. Crazy. And a little timeline of the Houston killer, terrorist. December 30th, truck rented in Houston. A white Ford F-150 truck in Houston, rented through the app. December 31st, he drives from Houston to New Orleans. It was about 5.5 hours, 340 miles. On January 1st, Jabbar posts pro-Israel videos to social media. During the press briefing, they talk about this, proclaiming his support for ISIS. And the first video, he explained he was going to kill his family. One of the videos, Jabbar noted that he joined ISIS before the summer. January 1st, he does the attack, 3:15 a.m. Explosive devices recovered. Victims identified. And divorces and financial difficulties. A lot of problems. Bomb-making materials found at his house. Precursor chemicals. And that's where we're at. Crazy. According to United Cajun Navy, the Airbnb rented by the New Orleans terrorists was operating illegally, meaning that the property was not licensed with the city of NOLA. The neighborhood was evacuated hours after the attack. The house right there. Oh, this was another thing. I haven't even talked about this. I'll just do a mention. U.S. Army soldier has been arrested for allegedly hacking Trump and Kamala Harris's phone, selling confidential phone records. And this guy, 20 years old, Army soldier, John Wagnius. What is going on? It's like all these people are, I don't know, they're being activated. Oh, really? Nicole Perez was your neighbor? I'm sorry. I saw her family yesterday offering condolences. Her little boy has no idea. Oh, my God. I can't imagine. Yeah, that's horrible. So who was this guy, this John Wagnius? Been charged with selling confidential phone records, including alleged material stolen from President-elect and Vice President Kamala. 2 indictment charges against Cameron John Wagnius for knowingly and intentionally selling and transferring confidential phone records information of a covered entity without prior authorization from the customer whom such confidential phone records information related. The court document does not detail the hacked material, but security news blog Krebs on Security reported that Wagner seemed connected to a series of high-profile breaches through an online alias, Kyber Phantom. In November, Kyber Phantom posted that they had the AT&T call logs for Trump and Harris. While it's unclear if this data was truly secured, AT&T did face a major theft of consumer data as part of a Snowflake hack breach last year. Krebs on Security spoke with Wagner's mother, who confirmed her son's connection to the alleged Snowflake hacker. Wow. What's going on with these military people? Wagner's 20 years old, soldier at Fort Cavos, formerly known as Fort Hood. Fort Hood. In Keelan, Texas. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And completely unrelated, but a chase story. There was a chase in Harris County, Texas. 3 teens killed. What happened?
Are injured after a police chase ends in a fatal crash in Spring.
This all happened earlier this morning on Rolling Terrace Drive near Luetta Road in northwest Harris County. Fox 26's Domily Keith joining us live with this difficult story. Domily.
That's kind of annoying. The bring thing.
14 and 15
I'm going to fix it after the stream.
Sped away in a stolen SUV when a deputy tried to pull them over. In just a 45-second chase, the boys reached 90 miles an hour and smashed into this tree here where flowers now lay. Now, this is here on Rolling Terrace at Sorrel Ridge Drive. Residents say even experienced drivers have trouble with this turn. They've had trouble for years. And just after midnight, a boy who wasn't even old enough to drive lost control here in the curb and died, taking 2 of his friends with him. 3 other boys in the vehicle survived. They are now said to be in stable condition after they were rushed to the hospital.
It sounded like a big explosion almost.
It hit, and before I could even get to the door,
it crashed.
There were 3 police officers already out of their cars and guns drawn.
I'm just sorry this happened. Yeah. I mean, it's sad.
Being a mom, the last thing you want to hear is that New Year's Day you lost somebody that was your child.
They were going really fast, apparently, like fast. I mean, that tree trunk right there was like up to the windshield, crushed into the car.
My heart's really going to go out to these parents. You know, I couldn't even begin to fathom or imagine, something like this. Just beginning to live. I mean, I'm old. I've been here over a half a century.
All right. Crazy. I guess that's pretty much the updates for now. Let me see if there's anything else happening. What's going on? Check the world of Twitter. Crazy, man. Oh, Trump's being sentenced, too. So a New York judge has upheld Donald Trump's felony conviction in the hush money case, scheduling his sentencing for January 10th, 2025. That's before he's the election. He'll be fully or officially in office. Is it on the 20th? January 20th, right? So before he's even official, before his inauguration, I guess, they're pulling his ass in to sentence him, which is interesting. So despite the judge, Juan Merchan has indicted that Trump will not serve his prison time for this offense, reflecting on similar past cases and current legal practices. This event coincides with Trump's presidency-elect status, adding a layer of political significance to legal proceedings. So I don't know how that works. How does that work? If they sentence him, does he serve his time after his presidency? Okay, let's see what else.
We're going to do anything to him because he had a V-bid. I'm not f***ing playing, dude. I have the email. I am shaking, man. This is...
So yesterday morning...
What date was that?
That was Tuesday. That was this Tuesday. So we're Friday now. That was 3 days ago.
So
the day before.
30th?
Yeah, the day before the attack. I dismissed this stuff out of hand.
The 31st. It was on the 31st.
Yes. In fact, I posted something on my... I told your producer about this as well. But this was a post I made on Twitter. I was just trying to be humorous, off the cuff. It was... I didn't mean anything about it. I was just being humorous for my audience. I said, my inbox was especially eventful today. Allegations of war crimes, government anti-gravity technology, and fears about being tracked and watched by the feds. It's always, the world is ending and I have this information that needs to get to the media, and never, how you doing, brother? Everything all right? I was just playing off of a meme. It was just supposed to be a joke. That was the body of his email that he sent me. And I didn't think anything about it. I didn't know who Matt Berg was, Matt Livelsberger, or anything else. He told me who he was in the email. He pointed me to his LinkedIn account. I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was just kind of being humorous with my audience. Like, I get these crazy messages sometime. And then the day after that message, I wake up and my buddy was like, hey, Sam, nobody in the community seems to know this guy. Do you happen to know who he is? And I played that for you before we came up here. Just absolute shock. That's how I woke up yesterday.
Do you want to play it now?
Yeah. Excuse my language. I was definitely in shock. Let me find this.
Of our Instagram accounts. And we should also get that email
I don't have
address.
it. I deleted it.
You deleted it.
He told me to delete it, and I deleted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should also get that email address and see if they sent it in through the website, and see if he tried to contact us. Get that to the FBI.
So I'm in a military.
Hopefully they actually do something.
Yeah, I'm in a military. I'm shaking.
Oh wow!
I'll have to check out that podcast. That's a snippet from the podcast. This video was posted around 2 weeks ago. Husband and wife killed in a murder unaliving. Had started process of divorce. So she posted some type of video, I guess. Let me see.
So, about to be a newly single mom.
Wow.
And I am in the middle of a divorce. My husband is being incredible though. Like, really and truly, like, we're working together. Everything's great. We're splitting everything down the middle. Like, you know, everything is good. It is a very civil divorce with our daughter in mind, and I really appreciate that. However, you know, I'm going to be a mom, single income right now, and he will be helping with her. He will be supporting her, you know. So essentially, like, I'm really thankful for that, and that I will not have to worry so much about supporting her. However, I will be on a very limited income with buying a new house and, you know, paying a mortgage and all that stuff. So I've never done this before. I've never been on my own before. So if you have any tips, saving money, making money, anything like that, like, I would really appreciate it. Like, you know, coffee at home, you know, I take caffeine pills, I do my own hair, nails, everything. Like, I do all that. So yeah, if you just have any tips, like, I would really appreciate it.
Wow. So I guess she posted that video 2 weeks ago. The article came out December 30th. This dude killed her. I guess he couldn't handle the breakup or rejection or whatever. It's just crazy people do this. There's a picture of the couple here. Wow. Sounds like he had another kid from a previous marriage. Brandon Lee Sheffield, born on September 22nd, 1984, Mobile, Alabama. Passed away December 27th, 2024. Wow. Man, people are just, I don't know, man. Anyway, I guess I'm going to jump off for now. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. We'll see what happens. The days, it's still young. Still young. It's 5:39 Eastern. And it's even earlier in California. I guess 2:39. So anything can happen. Anything can pop off. And I don't know. I guess we're going to probably be in for a crazy year. Seems like it, the way it's starting off. And for a wild ride. And the kids are going back to school. So back to the routine as well. Kids going to school, homework, all this stuff, trips, all the money, trip money you got to pay, all this stuff. Homework, everything back. Lord almighty. Kids are back to school. last weekend. And the video is in the description. I'll post it in the chat too, in case you haven't seen it. The video is in the description, though. If you want to check out the podcast, you can check it out. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good night. Bye. Bloop, bloop, bloop.